Last week, when we broke down the game between the 49ers and the Saints, we said that the 49ers' playoff chances were on life support. But they weren't dead yet. And on Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Rams in a big game that goes a long way in securing themselves a possible spot in the postseason. Now let's take a look at the game and find out how they got there. This is the first drive of the game for the Rams, and as you can see, they're coming out firing. They send a lot of receivers into the pattern, while the running back will stay in to help pass protect. Now, because the Rams have sent so many receivers out, the 49ers have 5 defensive backs in the game. San Francisco is also sending a standard 4-man rush, leaving just 2 linebackers in, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Now, one interesting thing to notice here is that the Rams do not fake the handoff to the running back. They do not fake it. Instead, it's just a straight drop back by Goff. So the linebackers don't step forward to meet any fake. Instead, they're very comfortable just dropping back into pass protection. Let's take a look. Now, when we stop it here, we see that the running back Brown doesn't really have anybody to block. But I think this is kind of by design, because when the 49er linebackers vacated the middle of the field, now that means Brown can just go set up into that space the defense left behind, and it's an easy completion for Goff if he needs it. Now he catches this ball just past the line of scrimmage, but it does look like there's a little bit of room for him to get maybe 3 or 4 yards, but he's got to watch out for the pincers here of Dre Greenlaw and Jimmy Ward. And in particular, we're going to watch Jimmy Ward come in and punch this ball out on the play. Boom. And just like that, Jimmy Ward has forced 2 fumbles in 2 games, both of which were recovered by the 49ers. Let's go back to the snap. Last week I said that Jimmy Ward was solid, but not spectacular. I think I may have to reevaluate that after we look at the rest of this game. So obviously this is a big opportunity for the Niners early. They have excellent field position. They want to get a few more yards for their field goal, but the pass is intercepted by the Rams. Ouch. Let's see if we could figure out what happened. Now, as I've already hinted, Jimmy Ward has a pretty big impact on this game. But the other player that undoubtedly had a major impact was number 99, Aaron Donald. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award twice. Now watch him on this play. Okay, Colton McKivitz does a really good job initially of stopping Donald's first move, and Mullins has plenty of space in the pocket, as you can see. But one thing they teach you as a defensive lineman is if you can't get to the quarterback, stick your hands up when they're about to throw a pass. Donald has lightning quick hands, and he does just that. And bam, the Rams have forced a turnover just as quickly as the Niners have forced one. Wow. All right, here we go. The Rams would drive down the field and kick a field goal. They take an early 3-0 lead. Naturally, the 49ers would like to respond, so they start by putting the ball into the hands of one of their best playmakers. You can see they put Deebo Samuel in motion. Now at the bottom of the screen, we see that Hollins is coming off the edge for the Rams. He wants to disrupt this play. And you may have noticed the Niners dropped Ross Dwelley down in front of him. But Dwelley doesn't block him. He lets him go right by. Instead, Dwelley is going to fire out to the second level, and the running back will be responsible for blocking Hollins. Now watch as Mullins actually flips this ball up to Deebo Samuel instead of handing it to him. Why? Well, we've covered that on this channel before, but just one more time we'll talk about it. And the reason is you can tell that this is a very bang-bang play. A lot of stuff happening very quickly. The timing of the receiver coming across has to be perfect. And, something could go wrong, right? And so the reason they flip it up is if there's a fumble, if for some reason that doesn't happen cleanly, if the timing is just slightly off for whatever reason, well, it actually doesn't count as a fumble because Mullins flips it up to him. That's a forward pass. So if the ball ends up on the ground, it's simply an incomplete pass. It's just a much safer, easier way to do it, even though that may seem counterintuitive. The play is executed perfectly, and Deebo Samuel takes it for big yardage down the field. Now, obviously, as we saw from the 49ers' last possession, Aaron Donald is a player that can wreck the game. So how do you deal with something like that? Well, one way is to simply run away from him, and that's what the 49ers did here. Now, the NFC West is absolutely stacked with wide receivers on all four teams. But one thing that's very clear is that the 49ers are a completely different team with Debo on the field. And they go right back to him. They do this by starting off with a fake handoff to Raheem Mostert. The idea of this is to get the linebackers to step forward to open space for Debo Samuel to run in behind him. The Niners take the safety out of the play by sending Richie James deep. Now, the interesting thing about this is the fake to Raheem Mostert doesn't really work. Those linebackers stay right where they're at. But it doesn't matter. You can't match up against a guy like Debo Samuel with a linebacker. Debo's simply just going to win. Debo had a huge game for the Niners, and here he takes it inside the 10-yard line. Now, that was a long developing play, and it went deep down the field. And what do you need to be able to do something like that? Viewers of this channel know you need time. Look at that pass protection that Mullins has. He has all day to throw that ball. And now they're set up. 1st and goal. Now they send Ross Dwelley in motion. And notice Kyle Juszczyk is lined up kind of almost like a tight end here, but he's off the line of scrimmage. Dwelley is going to continue coming around, and they're going to bring Juszczyk in around behind him. Those two players will be the lead blocker for Raheem Mostert on the play. Now the Rams actually do a pretty good job of plugging up all of these gaps, but Raheem Mostert has the vision, and he knows he has the speed to make it to the corner. Touchdown, San Francisco. Now, one interesting thing when we look at it from this angle is we're going to see everybody on the 49ers offensive line move to their right, even though the play's going to their left. In fact, you can even see Raheem Mostert is participating in this fake. Now, it doesn't really fool the Rams, but it's just sort of an interesting reminder that you never know what you're going to get when you play the 49ers. And check out Raheem Mostert sticking that ball out over the goal line like Tony Dorsett. All right, Niners go up 7-3, and the Rams get the ball back. Now in this play, the Rams want to take a deep shot to their tight end, Higbee. But you can see that the coverage is really tight. Jimmy Ward is all over him. In fact, the coverage is so tight, my circles are overlapping here. So Goff can't just throw a conventional pass. It's going to be broken up, or maybe even intercepted by Ward. Instead, he has to try to drop this ball in over the top. Now take a look at Richard Sherman, who's right there. Sherman has his hands on the wide receiver. Now he's not interfering with him. He's just sort of feeling where he's at, kind of like in basketball. And that allows him to take a quick peek at the quarterback, and he sees him throwing this ball. So Sherman is able to stop what he's doing and go and get it. That's what makes Sherman one of the greats. Now, he hasn't played for a while, but here you can see instantly what a big difference his presence on the field makes. Now this is the very next play from scrimmage. And the 49ers fumble the ball right back to the Rams. Man, what a wild first half. 4 turnovers. Let's go back to the snap. Now, at first I thought this ball must have been punched out. I think everybody kind of had that same thought. But as you can see, Wilson's just carrying it pretty wildly there. He doesn't secure it, and the ball just slips out of his hands. Kind of a wild thing, but, you know, Wilson and Raheem Mostert, those guys haven't been playing. And when you haven't been playing and haven't been practicing, you lose something, even fundamentals like that. Now, I'm not excusing it. I mean, obviously, a play like that is just flat out inexcusable, but there's definitely some rust there. I mean, we can't pretend like there isn't. All right, so the Rams get the ball. The quarter ends, so the teams will switch sides, but it's still the same drive for the Rams. And right away, we see that all the receivers for the Rams are covered. Now, Goff doesn't really have a good escape route from the pocket, so he's forced to hold the ball. And when you hold the ball, the pressure is going to get home. Kerry Hyder Jr., who's making John Lynch look like a genius week in and week out, delivers again for the 49ers. Now, when we go back to the snap, we see that Jared Goff is actually doing a pretty good job of going through all of his reads. This is a coverage sack, and it just goes to show what a good job that the defensive backs are doing, and that defensive line starting to come together a little bit. Robert Saleh's defense looking good yet again. Rams have to punt, Niners get the ball back, and here we see the formation that they use down on the goal line. Ross Dwelley is in motion. Kyle Juszczyk is lined up kind of off the line of scrimmage. And remember, last time they did this, they sent Dwelley around, they had Juszczyk come in behind him, and then they handed the ball off to Raheem Mostert. So let's see how this plays out. And this time they let Dwelley go all the way over before they snap the ball. Let's see what they're doing here. In fact, he comes back around, and oh, those tricky Niners. Now we see what they're up to. This time it's going to be Kyle Juszczyk out in front, with Ross Dwelley behind him, and then the running back following them to the other side of the field. Now that's Jeff Wilson Jr. out there instead of Raheem Mostert, but the result is the same. First down, San Francisco. And here we get to a key moment in the drive, and the 49ers have had a nice little drive going for them at this point. They want to build on that 7-3 lead. They have not looked super sharp in the first half, and whoa, what's this here? There's a penalty for a delay of game, so now that drops them all the way back to a 3rd and 7. That's a pretty big mistake by Nick Mullins. Now, why do I necessarily pin that on Mullins? I mean, maybe the play came in late from the sideline, or maybe a late substitution came in. There's things that are sometimes beyond the quarterback's control with that, right? Well, it's the quarterback's responsibility to check the play clock and make sure he gets the ball snapped. And if he can't get it snapped, call a timeout if that's what the coach wants him to do. Nick Mullins didn't do that here, and that's why I say the responsibility was on him for that play. But let's take a look and see how the 49ers handle it. They send a receiver deep, and that takes the safety with him. Now notice the running back kind of sneaking out of the backfield. The Rams don't want to let him get an easy one, so the linebacker is going to have to drop down and pick him up. Now the middle of the field is opened up for Jordan Reed. Reed gives his man, you can see he gives him a little bit of a move to the outside first, and when his man just takes that step there, Reed cuts back in to the inside, where there's a lot of space that is suddenly opened up for him. This should be an easy completion for Nick Mullins. But Mullins wildly overthrows him on the play, and now the 49ers are going to have to punt. That was kind of a big moment. 49ers are missing out on a lot of opportunities in the first half. That's just bad. Fortunately for the 49ers, Jared Goff is bad too. Well, at least he was in this game. Let's take a look at this next play. Once again, all the receivers for the Rams are covered. But this time there's an escape route from the pocket, and Goff is going to be able to get about 5 yards before being met by Jimmy Ward in the middle of the field. A very successful play for first down. Jimmy Ward comes over and punches out the football, and the 49ers recover. 3 forced fumbles in 2 games for Jimmy Ward, all recovered by the 49ers. That is the definition of spectacular. Now, I made a joke about Goff being terrible. Why? Let's take a look. Here, I think he makes a big mistake, because Jimmy is known for being very solid, a very solid tackler. And Jared Goff tries to give him a little shake and bake here, and that allows Jimmy to come over and punch that football out. I think that was a big mistake for Jared Goff. In this situation, especially on first down, there was no reason for him to try to get those extra yards. He was already going to gain 5 yards. He needs to prioritize securing the football in this situation. Niners come up with the fumble, but there's only 22 seconds left, and they're facing a big 3rd down and 10. And here we see a little bit of elusiveness from Nick Mullins. First of all, we see that Aaron Donald has split the double team, and it looks like he has Nick Mullins dead to rights, right in his sights. But Mullins gives him just a little bit of a move, and he's able to roll out of there and find Kendrick Bourne for the 1st down. Wow. Let's go back to the snap. So at this point, Mullins is scrambling, and Kendrick Bourne can see that. Now, what do you do when you see your quarterback scrambling? You run towards your quarterback. Now, it looks like Jalen Ramsey is right there, but we can also see that Ross Dwelley, again, has snuck out of the backfield. The Rams don't want to give up an easy one, so Ramsey has to come down and pick him up, allowing enough space for Bourne to make the play. The 49ers have done enough to give Robbie Gould the shot at a long field goal before the end of the half. The kick is up, and he just misses it. 50-yarders are never gimmies in the NFL. Let's move ahead to the 3rd quarter. 49ers still have that 7-3 lead. Rams have the ball, and as you can see, the 3rd quarter has just started. This is only the 2nd play. The Rams send a couple of receivers deep. And what do you need if you want to go deep? Time. But Jared Goff doesn't have time because Kevin Givens is breathing down his neck. He's about to blow him up. The Rams do have a receiver coming across the middle. But check out Javon Kinlaw here. He is all over it. He drops back and picks off the pass and takes it all the way in for a touchdown. Spectacular. DeForest who? Now from this angle, we're going to get a look at what an impressive play it was by Kevin Givens, not because he was super quick or he overpowered his man, but because he simply kept working and working and working. And that's what you got to do. Look at him, stoned by the double team. He keeps going, he keeps going, he keeps fighting until he finally gets the clear shot he wants at Jared Goff. And Kinlaw is reading Goff's eyes. He knows where he's going with the football, so he drops back. Guys, this isn't an experienced linebacker doing this. This is a rookie defensive tackle. Givens hits Goff right as he throws. The ball comes out funny, and Kinlaw is still able to secure it. There are a lot of defensive tackles in the league that can't do this. That is extremely impressive. For a rookie? Are you kidding me? Wow. So the Niners go up 14-3, which suddenly seems like a huge lead in this defensive struggle, and they're looking to add on a few more. Deebo Samuel is just going to run to that tiny, tiny hole you see in the zone there and try to get a few yards. And that's all he's going to get because there's 2 Rams right there ready to make the play. Deebo breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, and then he's off to the races. He gets a 1st down. That was on 2nd and 14, and he got a 1st down. Deebo Samuel. I said he went off. 11 catches, 133 yards. And one big-time play after another for Deebo. Niners tack on another field goal to go up 14 points. That's 2 touchdowns. They had to be feeling pretty good at this point of the game, even though we are still just in the 3rd quarter. But I think we all should have known better than to simply think the Rams were just going to lay down and die here. Compounding issues for the 49ers is that, unfortunately, Jamar Taylor, who's been filling in actually wonderfully for an injured K'Wan Williams, was injured himself in this game, and Emmanuel Mosley had to come in. And here, Cooper Kupp runs right at him before cutting to the inside, and he really catches Mosley flat-footed here. He takes it 33 yards down the field, and for Los Angeles, that is just what the doctor ordered. Here we get another good view of Mosley, again, just kind of being caught flat-footed. Now the Rams know that Mosley hadn't played in a while, and they attacked him on 4 consecutive plays. I've shown you one, now I'm about to show you another one. This time he's covering Darrell Henderson, who's just running an out, and this time Mosley reacts much more aggressively to the play. But he burns Mosley with a double move, and he's wide open, and oh my Goff. Goff has him wide open here, and that's a bad overthrow, just as bad as the one we saw from Nick Mullins in the first half. So the Rams have to settle for a field goal. They knock it in, making the score 17-6. But here Aaron Donald, in my opinion, single-handedly changes the game. He penetrates so quickly, Mostert isn't able to secure the football. The Rams pick it up, and they run it all the way back for a touchdown. And just like that, now it's 17-13. Rams have scored 10 points within a matter of seconds. Aaron Donald, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Incredible athlete. The Niners have been able to neutralize him, but here he starts to go off. Wow. To say it's a huge play is a drastic understatement. All right, 17-13. Now the Niners get the ball back after the Rams score. But if you thought Aaron Donald was done, think again. He takes Nick Mullins out with a sack. So far, he's tipped a pass that was intercepted. He caused a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. And now he sacks Nick Mullins, giving the Rams a huge momentum swing down the stretch. Now take a look at Mike McGlinchey. He sets up pretty aggressively to the outside. Donald says, no problem, I'll just cut back to the inside. Now one thing that's interesting here, when we take a look over at Daniel Brunskill, we see him kind of blocking nobody, and he's kind of looking around a little bit, a little unsure maybe if he's in the right place. Donald gets the snack, and now look at McGlinchey kind of stare Brunskill down. He puts his hands on his hips, and he's staring him down. I think McGlinchey was expecting some help from Brunskill on that play. Now, I don't know if that was McGlinchey's fault or not. One thing I do know is we do kind of see McGlinchey on the wrong side of a highlight every single week. So now the Rams get the ball back with all the momentum behind them. So the tackle for the Rams, Haverstein, and the guard Corbett both take a step to their left. And the defensive linemen for the 49ers react in that direction too, and the Rams let them. They let them run over there, and then they seal them off. And then the running back can run right into the space that the defense left behind. Now you may be wondering, well, what about Fred Warner? Can't he just run over there and make the play? The center for the Rams is actually going to fire off into the second level and pick him off. Let's take a look. Now the last player for San Francisco that has a shot at making this play is Tarvarius Moore. But he, in running over to do so, his momentum is still carrying him in that direction, and Akers just makes a brilliant cut, and he is gone. 61 yards for the brilliant rookie, Cam Akers. Jason Verrett makes the tackle, but the damage has been done, and the 49ers are reeling. From this angle, we do get a chance to take a look at the speed of Jason Verrett. How do you reward your young running back who's just made a huge play for you? You give him the ball again, and you let him punch it in. And that's exactly what the Rams do. The Rams also have a new kicker, Matt Gay, who came over from Tampa, and he kicks the extra point, giving the Rams a 20-17 lead. Now, up until this point, I thought that Nick Mullins and the 49ers offense has played pretty bad. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. each fumbled, and Nick Mullins had not played great. And I have to be honest with you, I really thought that the idea of them going down, kicking a field goal, getting the ball back, going down and scoring again, doing it twice, when the offense really had been inconsistent all game long, was unrealistic. But the 49ers have really gone through a lot this year, and they've transitioned into a really tough ball club, mentally tough. And when the chips were down, when they needed it the most, that's when Nick Mullins and the 49ers offense stepped up. Let's take a look at the X's and O's. At the start of this play, we see Richie James going in motion. None of the Rams players goes with him, so that tells you it's probably a zone. And that's one of the reasons a team will put a player in motion so that the quarterback can help identify whether it's man or zone. But that's not the only reason. Here we can see the safety has dropped way down. Because Richie James was in motion running over to that side of the field, he doesn't want the 49ers to get an easy one. This was kind of a theme throughout this game, wasn't it? Also notice, this defender is taking an outside technique. He's taking the out route away from Kendrick Bourne. It might look like there's space for Kendrick to cut inside, but you can see that there's a safety right there. But the truth is, the safety actually isn't right there. He's going deep because it initially looks like that's what Kendrick Bourne is doing. If you remember last week, we talked about the stem of a wide receiver's route. And the stem of Kendrick Bourne's route here looks like he's going deep on the play. The safety moves over, and Kendrick Bourne has a wide open, beautiful middle of the field area to work in. And that's something we saw a lot from the 49ers last season, was moving defenders around with pre-snap motion to open up the middle of the field. Bourne makes a nice contested catch here in a big moment in the game. And that's something we've kind of got used to seeing from Kendrick Bourne over the years. That was clutch, and the 49ers decide to go right back to Kendrick Bourne again. And here, we can see that the play is pretty obvious. They sent him in motion over to that side of the field. They actually have Kyle Juszczyk lined up in the slot, and he's going to block the man in front of him, and the flanker up top will block the defensive back up that way, and Kendrick Bourne will just follow his blockers for, hopefully, a big gain. But here we see Kyle Juszczyk actually misses his block, and now the defender has a clean shot at Kendrick Bourne. But if we take a closer look, we see that this was actually the 49ers' plan all along, and Kyle Juszczyk is now wide open deep down the field. Kyle Shanahan digs into his bag of tricks, the 49ers players execute, and it's about a 20-yard gain down the field in a critical moment of the game. Very impressive. Now he fumbles the ball out of bounds, but there was no change in possession, so the 49ers still get the ball right there. It's enough to get him into field goal range with 3 minutes to go, and they knock it through, tying the game. But they have to kick off to the Rams after a score, so LA's going to get the ball back, and here they're facing a 3rd down and 5. Goff decides he's going to take one more shot against Emmanuel Mosley, but the play is well covered, the ball is overthrown, and now the Rams have to punt back to the Niners with under 2 minutes to go. Crunch time. Here we go. On the last drive, San Francisco relied on some misdirection to get the ball down the field. Here, they get the ball into the hands of one of their best playmakers. They send the slot receiver deep, and he takes the corner and the safety with him, leaving the middle of the field open for a slant by Deebo Samuel. The play goes for 24 yards and the Niners are in business. And Nick Mullins, who had had a tough day, makes his best throw of the game here. Pinpoint in stride. Shanahan liked it so much he went back to Mullins and Debo. And here, Debo just uses his body to get in front of the defender, get position on the defender, and Mullins rifles a bullet right into him. Inching closer, just inching closer. Right, they're right there, right just on the cusp of being able to try a long field goal for the win. With the game on the line, they put the ball into the hands of their other top playmaker, Raheem Mostert, and he gets about 4 or 5 yards inside the 30, enough for field goal range. Now, if you're a fan of Baldy's breakdowns, you probably saw this. This is great. Ross Dwelly comes over and absolutely destroys Aaron Donald on the play. Four seconds left, and it's going to be a 47-yard attempt. Shorter than the 50-yard attempt in the first half, but here Jalen Ramsey, trying to make a play for his team, goes offsides. Now it's a 42-yard attempt. That's 15 feet closer. It's a pretty makeable attempt. The kick is good, and the 49ers have beaten the LA Rams for the 4th consecutive time. They keep their season alive. They keep their playoff hopes very much alive. And look at the celebration as the team runs onto the field. Huge victory for the Niners. Huge win for the Niners. They really needed this one. And now let's take a look at the gauntlet. Remember this horrible 7-game stretch that they had that everybody thought was going to be a disaster without a lot of their key players. And it was tough this year. It really was. But so far, they're 500 in the gauntlet. They're 3-3, right? They beat the Rams. They beat the New England Patriots. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Packers. They lost to the Saints. But then they beat the Rams again. So when we're taking a look at where we're at for the season, and particularly our chances to get into the postseason, into the playoffs, I think the odds are pretty good if they can win a few more key games down the stretch. Now, next week, we've got probably our toughest remaining game on the schedule against the Buffalo Bills. There is some cause for optimism in the game. We are going to be playing in Arizona, and while that's a little bit disorienting for the team, it might not be so bad. We're actually going to have a few fans there cheering them on for the first time. That could give them a little bit of a boost during the game. I think that game will really sort of be the key. If we win that game, I feel really good about our chances to be in. After that, we play the Washington football team. They're not a great team, but they have been playing better lately, but I still think that's a winnable game for San Francisco. After that, we have the Dallas Cowboys. So you win those 3 games, you probably only need to win one of your last 2 against Arizona and Seattle. Those are division games, each winnable games. We're capable of beating either one of those teams. We're 0-2 against both of those teams this year, but we beat both of those teams last year. And I think with everything on the line, we should be able to win one of those games. That would put us at 9-7 and likely into that last wild card spot. Also, we talked about this. We've been talking about it every week, it seems like. But just imagine, just imagine in your head the idea of having Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Jordan Reed, Raheem Mostert, and Jimmy Garoppolo all on the field at the same time. That is going to be a potentially deadly combination on offense. And on defense, the team is clearly playing at a championship level. They're playing good enough right now to win it all if they get a little help from their offense. They don't have that outside pass rush that we saw last year with Dee Ford and Nick Bosa. Dee Ford could still return some point this year, but the 49ers are generating a much better pass rush in the last 2 games than they have been all season. Kerry Hyder, what a remarkable find by John Lynch. Great job to make sure we got Kerry Hyder in the door. Kevin Givens. Javon Kinlaw. Kinlaw has suddenly exploded with the kind of talent we were all hoping we would see when he was drafted. just when it started to look like maybe we had made a mistake in letting DeForest Buckner go, Kinlaw responds with a huge game. I mean, last week against the Saints, he was great. He lived in that backfield. This week, he was even better. That pick 6 was unbelievable. You take a look at some of the great defensive ends in the league defensive tackles that have not been able to drop back into pass coverage, sort of makes them one-dimensional. It's rare for a tackle to be able to do that. Kinlaw did it and seemed comfortable doing it as a rookie. He showed great hands on the play, and that was a huge play in the game. If we don't get that play, we don't win the game. Everything just seems like it's coming together for the 49ers to go on one last run here to make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs with those healthy playmakers on offense and the defense playing the way it is, look out. Look out. It's going to be a great game against the Bills. Man, that it's on Monday Night Football. What a huge game. That's just, it doesn't get any better than this. And you already know after that game, we are going to be here to break it down. I want to thank all my new subscribers. You guys have just been so great all year. Please like and share the video. Comment. I read every comment. It takes a long time to make a video like this. If you could just give me 10 seconds and hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. All right. Breakdown of the Niners and Bills coming next week, and I will see you guys then.